Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 30 of my favorite drum parts. First off, that's a crazy thing for me to say, episode 30. But indeed, we are here. And you know what? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, as as the great Meredith Wilson once said, who also happens to be from my hometown of Mason City here. And even though we're not going to talk about Meredith Wilson today, we are going to, as it is the Christmas season, unpack the drum part on an absolutely dynamite Christmas track that I hope you've heard before. And if you haven't, boy oh boy, you're in for a treat. Because this comes from probably one of my favorite Christmas albums in the last decade. And we're going to get into it right about Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, once again, episode 30, My Favorite Drum Parts. It's your old pal Cole here, and today we are going to be unpacking the drumming of the legendary Mr. Greg Field. There he is right there. Greg Field is a phenomenal drummer and now very successful music producer as well. And Greg got his start at an incredibly young age, professionally, I should say, playing with the likes of, I have a list here because I don't want to leave anybody out, the likes of, let's see, Ray Charles, Harry James, Mel Torme, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, and today we're going to be talking about his drumming with the iconic Count Basie Orchestra. In fact, Greg Field holds 2 records. He was the youngest musician ever to play in the Count Basie band at age 19. And he was also the final drummer to play with Count Basie before his passing in 1984. However, the piece of music that we're going to be unwrapping like a Christmas present today, see what I did there, is coming from a much more current Count Basie album. This one right here. Count Basie Orchestra's A Very Swingin' Christmas. And I'll tell you what, guys, this is one of my top 10 favorite, I'm going to even say top 5 favorite Christmas albums in the last decade. It's awesome in so many ways. It came out in 2015, and something really cool about this album, not only does it feature Greg Field on drums, and not only did he produce the album, but it brought back the legendary composer and arranger, the great Sammy Nestico, who, if you know anything about jazz and big band jazz, Sammy Nestico is one of the greatest composers and arrangers out there. He wrote for the Basie Band on some of their greatest tracks and albums, rather, in the starting in the mid 70s, and has just written some incredible big band charts. And so he did the compositions and arrangements on this particular album, which was nominated for a Grammy back in 2015. It didn't win, unfortunately, but it was up for nomination. And let's get into this song. The song is Good Swing Wenceslas, not Good King Wenceslas. Good Swing Wenceslas, because when the Count Basie Band plays something, you know it's going to swing. And the 3 things that we are going to be listening for in Greg's drumming are, number 1, his masterful swing feel. You have to have one of those to play with Count Basie. Number 2, his crisp and tasteful fills. They don't get in the way, but they enhance the song. They take us from A to B, as any good drum fill should. And they're not easy, but they're crisp and they're tasteful, and you'll see. They're just, as Randy Quaid would say, they're really nice. Last of all, just listen to how musically Greg orchestrates his drum part around the drum set to build the song or bring it down dynamically, because dynamics are very important in a big band swing chart, especially one written by Sammy Nestico and played by the Basie Band. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, to dive into Good Swing Wenceslas? Me too. Let's do it. Right off the bat, I love his brush pattern here because it's almost backwards to what we would usually think of with swing. But it works and it matches with the bass. So tasteful and so very bassy. With that all-American rhythm section right there. Here we go. Keeping her with the brushes for a little bit. All right, get ready for the switch to 6. This is flawless right here. Smooth. That swing. Oh, I love those saxes. Such a quintessential bassy swing feel. I love here we're going to shift into a waltz feel. Nice and light to back that muted trumpet. Now we're going to build it up. Back to 4. Yeah. Oh yeah. Beautiful beautiful tenor sax. Oh yeah, swinging, baby. I don't want to talk, but I have to. Nice. Such dynamic contrast. Here we go. Bringing her back to the piano as any bassy chart should. Back to the brushes. Yeah. What do you think? Isn't that awesome? Good King Wenceslas is not a carol that you know, that's not the first one that would pop into my head. Like, hey, I'm going to make a swinging big band arrangement of this. But man, does it translate well, right? One of my favorites off that album. But the whole album is just home run after home run. You owe it to yourselves to check it out. That's, again, the Count Basie Orchestra's A Very Swingin' Bassy Christmas. There's the album right there, right? And can we give it up for Greg Field one more time? Yes, Greg Field. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of that one? What's on your list of essential Christmas listening around this time of year? Do you have any favorite tracks? They don't have to be jazzy or, you know, big band swing, anything like that. Any genre, any style. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Let's get a little conversation going. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by here again to Cole on Drums and another episode of My Favorite Drum Parts. If you liked anything that you saw here in today's video, please consider hitting that like button, tap the bell icon so you don't miss an upload, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a cent, and it takes all but a second to do, and doing those things shows YouTube that the content that I'm making is meaningful, and they will therefore push it out to more like-minded viewers like yourself who might enjoy watching these things as well. Also, if you would feel so inclined as to support my efforts as a content creator, as some people have asked if they could do so, there's information as to how you can do that through the official Cole on Drums Venmo account linked in the description of this video below. Please don't feel obligated to do so, but if you'd like to, you can check that out in the description. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today to another episode of My Favorite Drum Parts. I can't believe it's been 30 already, but we've got 30 more ready to go in the coming new year. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I look forward to seeing you around here very soon. Until then, take care, be kind to one another, go play some drums, and goodbye. Test. That's working. All right. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, as the great Meredith Willson once said. So it's only fitting for episode 30 that we react and unpack and in this case that we're talking about today, Count Basie. In fact, Greg Field was the final drummer. Greg Field! Ladies and gentlemen, I hope